This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Lowe's knows how to freshen up your yard, and it all starts with mulch. That's why we're introducing Mulch Week during SpringFest with can't-miss savings. Right now, get 5 bags of Stay Green Premium Color 2 cubic foot mulch for only $10. Plus, members earn 5 times the points on select mulch purchases all week long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/9. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
She knows that I travel in absence of me losing my husband with me and my children. So I says, hey, would you like to come and go too? She says, sure, not a problem. Let's book something. I've never been. I says, okay, not a problem.
This is the plaintiff, Bernadette Floyd. She says the defendant is her friend and they booked a cruise together. And as it turns out, the woman is a scammer who stole her money. She doesn't want to be friends with her anymore. She wants her $2,947 returned and is suing for just that today. This is the defendant, Annette Anderson. She says the plaintiff is the one who breached their agreement because she didn't get a passport for the cruise and she had to transfer the money to another cruise so they wouldn't lose their money. In fact, the plaintiff owes her money. She's accused of sinking a friendship. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,602.64 for the money she's owed.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Floyd, how did you and Ms. Anderson meet?
I met Ms. Anderson on a card game called Spades Plus back in March of 2019.
A virtual card game or an in-person card game?
It is virtual and stuff. This is the first time I actually seen her in person.
Okay.
I've never met her in person.
Okay, so the two of you kind of hit it off in this virtual card game and you decide that you want to take a trip together.
Well, yes. I mean, she was telling me we connected on the card game. She gave me her number and we would call and talk. And she was telling me about how she does a lot of traveling. And I was like, wow, I haven't traveled in years, you know. So she was telling me about different cruises and flying here and flying
So after
there.
years of not traveling, you start scheduling cruises for the year 2020.
No, not.
You're right. We're smack in the middle of COVID. All right. So the first cruise that you folks decide that you're going to take together is an Alaskan cruise that was supposed to leave when?
September of 2020.
Okay. Now,
Yes,
what
because
happens with that cruise?
A COVID hit.
Yeah.
So no traveling
Right.
anywhere. No one was going anywhere. So we discussed transferring the funds from the Alaska cruise to Sydney, Australia cruise.
Okay.
Which we were supposed to take April the 19th of 2021.
So everybody's in agreement. We're moving it to Sydney. And then what happens with the Sydney cruise?
Well, with the Sydney cruise, I noticed the phone calls were getting less and less. And I know she has a family. You know, she has custody of her granddaughter. You know, she's dealing with a lot. I understand that she lost her son, aunt, and she was still in mourning of death of her husband. So I understood all that. So the calls got less and less in 2021. And I would call and reach out to her and check, because we spoke about many things I'm not even going to get into on television. That's not air for this. It's not for this. She called me on my birthday, March the 18th.
Of 2021.
Yes.
And you
she
think
left me
you're going on a
voicemail.
cruise on April of what, 2021? A month later.
Yes, April the 19th.
Right, but now
But-
and that one's fully paid for. You had paid $2,947 for it, right?
Actually, I went through my receipts this morning and I paid more than that, but I'll take that because that's what I submitted into evidence.
Well, no, I
I'm
want to
looking
know
at-
what your receipts actually show you to have paid. You can tell me that.
I've missed a payment here of these June the 22nd of 2020 for $175, 12/23 of 2019 for $150. I have the money order receipts where I put her name.
Okay, we'll
and
go over
stuff
that.
on it.
We'll go over that later, and subject to
Yes.
proof of what you've paid, we'll discuss that. But
Yes.
what I want to know is the amount that you paid for the Alaskan cruise, which is now the Sydney cruise. In March, when she calls you for your birthday, do you think you're leaving on a cruise in April, or is the writing on the wall and you know you're not?
Yes, but see, the thing was, she informed me I hadn't booked my airline ticket yet.
Okay.
So she was telling me that she were waiting for the cheapest deal. So in February, I started asking her because I needed to prepare my airline money, for the flight. So she kept saying, well, I'm going to wait to the cheapest deal I can get. And I figured, well, she travels all the time. I'm not going to question this because I trust and believe this woman does all this traveling. So she calls me on my birthday. She left me a voicemail early in the morning. Then she finally reached out. She finally connected with me the same day on my birthday. And we're talking on my landline. And I said, well, Annette, we're getting close to the date to leave. I need to know how much it's going to cost me to get my airline ticket. She just sends me a text on my phone while we're on the phone. She sends me a text to my cell phone saying she rebooked the cruise to 2022. And I was like, well, how did you do that without having a discussion with me? And we're on the phone. So I told her right then and there, I said, you know what? I said, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2022. Anything can happen. I said, so you could just cancel me out of it. Cancel me out.
What was going on, Ms. Anderson? Tell me about this.
Well, the thing of it is, it starts off with the Alaskan cruise. She and I, as she say, friended each other on the spades game. And she and I became friends, and we began talking. So she knows that I travel in absence of me losing my husband with me and my children. So I says, hey, would you like to come and go too? She says, sure, not a problem. Let's book something. I've never been. I says, okay, not a problem. So on August the 20th of 19, I booked the Alaskan cruise. And she wasn't able to come up with her passport. So I didn't want her to have to lose
Alaska's part
out.
of America, so why did she need a passport? Was it departing from Vancouver, Canada?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. I've
Okay.
had so many,
All right.
going off. So she needed a passport. And she wasn't able to obtain that passport. So
Well,
she
that
sent
and
me
the
a
cruise
phone
never
call.
left the port, right? Because they weren't cruising on that date.
I don't believe it was.
No, they weren't. It may also be true that she wasn't able to get a passport. She'd certainly have had to get one for Sydney. But so in any event, did both of you agree before you moved it, or did you just move the Alaskan cruise to Sydney?
No, we talked. And
Okay,
I told her.
you both
I said,
agreed to move it
yes.
to Sydney. All right. So
Yes.
now let's talk about, while that cruise still hasn't happened, you have no idea if you guys are compatible face to face. There's also a plan to go on a Barcelona cruise, right?
Absolutely.
All right. And then as far as the Barcelona cruise, Ms. Floyd, all you paid for that one was $200, right?
Because it's not due.
That's
The
fine,
trip
but that
was
is, I want to know the accurate amount,
Yes,
$200.
$200
All right.
deposit. But Judge.
Okay. No, stop. There's no question pending for you. Ms. Anderson, explain to me what happened with the Sydney cruise. Did the Sydney cruise sail?
The Sydney cruise did go. They did say that the Sydney cruise was not canceled.
So did you go on it?
No, ma'am.
What'd you do with the tickets?
I transferred the ticket money over to another Alaskan cruise that took place in 2022.
That would take place in 2022. Did you discuss that with her beforehand?
Yes,
And what?
ma'am,
She
I
said
did.
yes?
That's no problem.
Okay, can I see the text where you guys discuss it and she says yes? And
This was This is verbal on the phone.
Well, watch this. Ms. Floyd, did you ever agree to move the Sydney cruise to 2022 in Alaska?
No, I did not.
Ms. Anderson, do you have any proof that she agreed to the rescheduling to 2022? And I'm not understanding how you proclaimed that the Sydney cruise left. Why weren't you guys on it if it left? Because I don't even think you can get into Australia from America.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think the Sydney cruise left.
I know when I called the cruise line, they said that it was still on.
What's the cruise line?
Carnival.
What's the date of the cruise?
April the 19th to May the 8th, 2021.
Yeah, okay. Carnival postpones Australia cruises until June of 2021. So, no, that ship didn't sail, and I didn't think it would have. Because they've been really strict over there. All right, so the bottom line is that when the ship doesn't sail, you can get your money back. So did you get your money back? Because I can call Carnival and find. Did you get your money back? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so if you have all the money, yours and hers, why haven't you paid the lady back hers?
The thing of it is 2 cruises.
Yeah, I know.
Your Honor.
So? It's the same thing with the Barcelona one. The Barcelona one, yeah, so why didn't you pay her? You got your money back for everything she paid for the Sydney cruise. So why haven't you given her that money if you already got it back?
This is what I'm trying to say to you, is these are 2 cruises that are booked together and they're lumped together. The Sydney, Australia, and the Barcelona, Spain. She had me put my deposit out there on these cruises at the
They're
time
not
of
lumped
booking.
together. I'm from Florida. I cruise a lot. They're 2 separate cruises. They're not lumped together, but it doesn't really matter if they're lumped together because all she paid was $200 on that one. You can get your money back for a cruise that didn't happen.
Yes.
Then why? Then you did get your money. You want me to just get off the? You want me to go call Carnival so we can all see what a liar you are? Because I think you got your money back from Carnival already. Did you get your money back from Carnival already? Yes or no? Did you get your money back from Carnival already?
I said yes.
That's right. So you got your money back and her money back. Tell
her
me why
money was
then,
not always paid. She did not pay the full balance. Her last payment to me, Your Honor, was in December.
Doesn't matter. Why haven't? If Carnival gave it all back to you, why didn't you just give it all back to her?
We were planning to go on the other cruise.
No, she doesn't want to. No. She doesn't want to. She barely knows you.
She now doesn't want to.
No, so what? It doesn't matter. See, this only matters if you're out something, okay? But if you're out nothing because the thing was completely refunded, you don't get to say to her, no, 2 years from now you have to cruise with me because you're not out anything. The only thing that if you and I plan a vacation and I can't back out and you can't back out either because if you back out, you make me lose money or you make me spend more for my trip. But why should you be able to back out? Because we agreed we'd go on this date. That is an argument. But when there is no agreement, because the date is 2 years now down the road or a year now down the road, and the company says, here's all your money back, because we breached because we weren't able to provide a cruise for you because COVID, then you can't hold her to anything. Give her back her money. I don't know how much you're going to be, you're a little disorganized, Ms. Floyd. I'm going to give you 24 hours to submit the appropriate proof of how much money you've given her, because I don't want her to keep a single penny that she's not entitled to keep. Okay? So when you show me any additional proof that you have, and we'll go through it, any money you paid for either one of these cruises, you are going to get back. On your counterclaim against her, for the obvious reasons, zero. Because all of these cruises were refundable. And there's no reason why she has to go on a cruise with you a year from now.
So the plaintiff prevails. She will get back at least the $2,947 from Ms. Anderson, plus any additional money she had paid. Let me ask you, Ms. Anderson, how do you feel about what the judge just decided? You got to give her that money back.
That's fine, but the amount is incorrect. She doesn't get a deposit back that's non-refundable.
Whatever she paid, apparently, you've got to give back. Whatever you got to give back to her.
Not a problem.
All right. Will you be going on another cruise with her, or you think that's maybe?
Oh, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I'm not surprised. All right, Ms. Floyd, let me ask you. So you're not going to go on any other cruise with Ms. Anderson, then, are you? That's over.
Never, I will never, ever, ever have anything to say to Miss Anderson. Wish her well, her and her family, though, and keep her in my prayers.
Well, aren't you nice? How about that? All right, the plaintiff wins. Harvey, this is an amazing case. How about it?
You know, Doug, this is so interesting. Because of COVID, there's a whole new body of law that's developing over whether COVID constitutes an act of God allowing people to get out of a contract. There is no clear answer, and frankly, it's going to vary from state to state. But this is one area of law that's developing because of a new thing, namely a pandemic.
Judge Milian, did you ever watch Miami Vice with Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas?
Heck yeah. We all, the day after it aired, we were all walking around the courthouse. I was a young prosecutor, and everyone was giving each other names and roles and
really?
joking around. There were a lot of cops who were consultants on that.
Yeah.
And a lot of police officers were, real police officers were consultants on it.
Call each other Crockett and Tubbs. And
Yeah,
stuff
everybody
like
was joking around, and
Right.
whoever the prosecutor was. And, you know, that was real Miami at that time. The fashion, the music, the crazy life. It wasn't my life, but it was a crazy life. And one of them had a house that is just down the blocks, down a few blocks in the waterway from
That's
where
right.
you and I live.
It was Philip Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
Ricardo Tubbs on the show.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Every time we roll by that house, it pops into my head.
Right, me too, me
It's
too.
Miami Vice parties. I know we're going on there, right?
Right.
Well, that's an appropriate question because today I'm wearing a Miami Vice color.
Yes,
kinda.
it is,
was
actually.
Like, they were like all those pastel colors and stuff. And I just remember in that era, in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, everybody, all the men wanted to have that look that Don Johnson had. And it was like the T-shirt under the Armani jacket and the white linen slacks and the loafers with no socks and everything. Of course, I couldn't afford my Armani jacket back then, but, you know, everybody was trying to get that look. In fact, he always had a little bit of stubble on the show.
Right.
They even made a razor, I think, some kind of an electric razor that would give you 1 day stubble. It was for sale back then, like in the late 80s. And yeah, I never could really quite pull off the look. But God, I wanted to. And they had the cars, the boats, everything.
They captured Miami excess quite well.
Exactly. The wretched excess of Miami in the 80s. Definitely.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with a Business Unlimited smartphone plan. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second internet plan with savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
This is the plaintiff, Frank Ronan. He says he wanted to buy the defendant's newly renovated cottage. But once he spent money inspecting it, it was anything but newly renovated. There were all sorts of code violations. He wasted $1,209 due to the defendant's false claims and is suing him here and now for just that. This is the defendant, Harry Arnold. He says the plaintiff chose to walk away from the deal they had, and he owes him nothing. He didn't falsely advertise a thing and isn't paying for something he doesn't owe. He's accused of fudging some details.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says he was duped into buying what he thought was a fully renovated place. Turned out it was a trailer. But the defendant says the plaintiff bought the house he was selling and the guy changed his mind and now he wants his money back? No way. It's the case of fudging some details.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Ronan, you are suing on behalf of yourself and Lillian Ronan to recoup $1,209 in costs that you incurred because, according to you, the defendant, Mr. Arnold, lied to you and falsely advertised his home that he was selling. Tell me why you feel that way.
Well, I was looking on the websites, all the real estate websites.
Okay.
And I found, and it was in my price range.
Okay.
So we put the offer in.
And what did the advertisement say?
It's completely renovated, 2020 cottage, super clean, ready to move in, not in a flood zone.
Okay.
Stainless appliances. It goes on. It was nothing like that.
Okay, but hold on one second. Did you put in an offer without having seen it?
We did a walkthrough.
Oh, so you saw it?
Yeah, we put it.
You saw. Sorry, hold on. So you saw it before you put in an offer.
Right.
So you liked what you saw.
Did a walkthrough. I did. I liked the property. I liked the area.
Okay.
I liked the school system.
Okay.
But then when we had our home inspection, it didn't go well. The main problem was the foundation.
Okay.
There's car jacks under there. There was a lot of work had to be done with the foundation.
Okay.
It was a mess.
Okay. Well, now, typically speaking, and not only typically, but in your case, according to the contract that I saw, you have an inspection period within which to withdraw. Are you complaining because the defendant kept your deposit money or he returned your deposit money?
No. What happened was when we found out it wasn't a cottage, it's a mobile home. They spruced up a mobile home, and when I found out the mortgage company will not do a loan for a mobile home.
Was he hiding the fact that it was a mobile home, or do you not have eyeballs? I mean, you were there and you saw it and you made an offer.
I never went underneath the house.
Is it a mobile home, Mr. Arnold?
It's a partial mobile home, half permanent structure with a slab foundation.
That's not a slab.
All right. Now, the area where this home is located, are the other homes not partial mobile, partial construction, or they are also the same?
Not immediately adjacent to this property. There are some in the area, but they're sparse.
Okay. Now, my understanding of the contract that you signed is that you agreed to be the entity that pays for the inspections. Therefore, buyer at buyer's sole cost and expense is granted the right to have the dwelling and all other aspects of the property inspected and evaluated by a qualified inspector. So why is it that you're coming to court to sue? Because he already gave you back your deposit, right? That's correct, Mr. Arnold, right? You didn't keep his deposit. He ended up bailing. Yeah. Go ahead.
I gave it to him back immediately.
All right. And how much was the deposit?
I think it was $4,000. I'm not sure.
Okay. Is that accurate, Mr. Ronan? All right. So he gave you back the deposit, which is what he has to do if you bail during the inspection period, according to this contract. So why is it now that you think that it would be appropriate for me to change your contract and find the seller to be the one who has to pay for inspections, et cetera?
Well, the whole ad, there was no, it's advertised as central air. There is no central air. But I really want you to show the pictures of the foundation. It's not a slab. It's a crawl space.
Okay, but that's the point of the inspection period, for you to see if it's adequate for you or not adequate for you. That is the point. So
I agree.
Right. So what did he do that he lied to you? You've got to show me something that he violated this contract between you guys. But, I'm kind of having trouble accepting what you're telling me when you saw the place and then made the offer.
If I knew it was a mobile home from the beginning, if it was advertised as a mobile home. That's like saying that during
the inspection I found out there's yeah, I know. And every buyer who's going to buy a place during the inspection period and finds out that there's going to be $10,000 worth of repairs, forget it, I want out. They get out, and their goodie bag is they get their deposit back. They don't then, on top of that, get their expenses paid for unless you're going to show me something super outrageous this man did. What is the outrageous thing he did? Do you understand that your exception to the rule would swallow the rule? You want to be immune from having to pay for an inspection when you don't like the results of the inspection.
I totally understand.
What did he lie to you about? What did he lie to you about? Cottage? He called it a cottage and you didn't like that? He called it newly renovated and you don't feel that it was newly renovated?
It wasn't, but there's carjacks. There was all. The foundation was the biggest issue, and I actually asked for $20,000 off the price because that's how much it was going to cost to fix that foundation.
So it wasn't so bad that you weren't right. So it wasn't so bad.
No, I was
basically the answer is this. I don't like the results of the inspection, so now I don't want to pay for the inspection. That is exactly what your right is. Your right is to pay for an inspection and say, it's still worth it at this price. It isn't. Let me negotiate. So you try to negotiate, and he says, no, I'm not going to take 20 grand off. And you don't like that result. So now the responsibility shifts, and I got to make him pay for your inspections because he wouldn't succumb to your requests. Because that is what an as-is contract is. You get to bail during the inspection, and he doesn't have to succumb to your requests. That's what you signed, an as-is contract.
The whole thing came down to the foundation.
Okay.
I asked to drop it 20 grand for the repairs. He went down 10, but at the same time, that's when I found out I can't get a mortgage for the place.
Well, that's on you. If you can't get a mortgage, that's your problem. That is a you problem. That is not a him problem. Was there a financing contingency on this in this case? In your contract, was there a financing contingency, Mr. Ronan? That means that if you can't get a mortgage, you can bail and get your deposit back.
I'm not sure.
All right. Whether there was or there wasn't, we don't even have that problem. You are greedy. You don't just want to get out of the contract and get your deposit back, which already happened. You now want to shift the cost of the inspections and a lawyer to him, and that's not what you signed. No. I'm abiding by what you signed. If it was good enough for you, it's good enough for me.
I totally understand. I just thought it was false advertisement.
What was a false advertisement?
The whole thing.
No, what did he say that was false? He used the word cottage.
And Central Air.
How is cottage false? How is cottage false?
It's a mobile home.
Right, but what does the word cottage mean? What does the word cottage mean?
Well, you can't drive a cottage.
Well, what does the word cottage mean?
You can drive a mobile home from here to there.
I don't know what you're talking about. The home is exactly what your eyeballs saw. Your eyeballs saw the place and you said, I want to live here. Here, let's go. And you were still willing. You find out that part of it's a mobile home and you're still willing to buy it. Just he needs to give you more than 10 grand. That's all this is about. And because he didn't,
not really.
Now you're mad, and now you want him to pay the $1,209. No.
Not really.
Verdict for the defendant.
No. Thank you.
So the plaintiff fails to prevail in his effort to get $1,209, the cost of the inspection of the house. Mr. Ronan, the judge thought you were greedy, really. Do you believe that? Do you agree with that?
I'm not greedy at all.
That you're just greedy?
No, I just thought he's a real estate guy. He should have known. He should have advertised as is, and it's a mobile home. He didn't do that. And he still can't sell the place. Okay. So it's all right. No big deal.
Mr. Arnold, what is upsetting him so much about the foundation? How do you answer that? What was that?
Just what he said. It is partial mobile home and a partial permanent structure. I feel sad that this case went through. Right off the bat, I was initially giving him $10,000 to help him with the down payment. And then when I didn't meet the $20,000 that he asked for and only offered $10,000 is when he walked away. I wish this transaction would have went through. He would have been in a beautiful house.
All right, Harvey, your turn. What do you think?
Well, Doug, there is a principle in law that if you see something, you say something. And if you walk into a house and you see that it's not what you thought it was, but you don't complain and then rely on the inspector and all that, tough luck. You're out of luck.
The judge was brave enough to share that she had a miscarriage. It's a topic we don't talk about much, and it should be. Would she feel comfortable sharing her story in the After the Verdict segment?
Yeah, so our first pregnancy and I guess that would be our fourth pregnancy.
Right.
After our first two children, resulted in a miscarriage in the rather early weeks, somewhere between 8 weeks and 12 weeks. Right. I know a lot of people don't tell people they're pregnant until the 12-week mark for that. I was never one of those people. Number one, I couldn't hide it. And number two, I was really happy.
Right.
And if I'm going to be sad, I want my friends to rally around me and help me through my sadness. So, sure. But it's, you get over that, but you don't really get over that. Like, there's always May and September. I'm always well aware of the dates of my miscarriage, but I am blessed. We are blessed with 3 wonderful kids, and what more can you ask for?
That's funny. You don't usually talk about it with me, but it's always in your head, huh? In May and September? How about that? Yeah, I mean, there's a happy ending at the end. We had 3 beautiful, healthy kids, and I think God knew what he was doing when he gave you daughters, all daughters.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, you know how to handle them. So, and...
You, on the other hand, were the 3rd of 3 boys, so you didn't know from women at all.
Please, I never put a toilet seat down until
That's right. I kept telling you for years. No, you didn't put a toilet seat down when we got married.
Well,
you put a toilet seat down when your first toddler fell in the toilet.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what it took. One toddler falling in the toilet.
Yeah, I know. Look, if you grow up in a house with just boys, you think the natural position for the seat is up.
Yeah, it's not.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
This is the plaintiff, Rodney Tannenbaum. He says he hired the defendant to redo the roof of his garage, and the thing leaks every time it rains. The defendant's incapable of fixing it. He has to hire a new roofer and is suing for the $3,000 he needs to get that job done right. This is the defendant, Dan Dorff. He says he did a great job on this guy's roof, and his water problem has to do with his windows. He certainly doesn't owe this guy because he didn't touch his windows. And once the evidence is presented, he thinks the judge will agree. He's accused of being all wet.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff hired the defendant to fix his leaky roof, but it turns out the roof still leaks. The defendant says the guy's water problems are due to his old windows and owes nothing. It's the case of you're all wet.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Tannenbaum, you're suing the folks who replaced your roof for $3,000. According to you, your damages are actually more than that because they would not honor a warranty when you brought it to their attention. In your estimation and in Mr. Dorff's estimation, it's not covered. Let me talk to you first, Mr. Tannenbaum. Tell me what happened.
Well, in August of 2019, Mr. Dorff came to my house to give me an estimate. And at the time, we spoke of number one, what type of warranty or guarantee that he gives his work. And number two, that there was this flat area roof that was made out of copper flashing that gave me concern that it was original to my house and it either needed to be replaced or Mr. Dorff was going to cover it with a flat roof system. But he failed to do that. He didn't put the flat roof system. He came.
What did he say? It wasn't necessary? Did he say it would hold up better? What did he say about it? Because he has to have said something. Because you know from looking at the dormer, what we're talking about, so that we're clear, is these dormer windows that jut out of the roof, and then we're talking about the flat part that is perpendicular to the window, the white part that we're looking at, right?
Yes.
Okay. So according to you, you folks talked about it, and what did he say?
That he was going to utilize a flat roof system to cover that flashing.
That's what we're talking about. This is a bird's eye view of what we're talking about, correct?
Yes.
What is that material I'm looking at there?
That was the roofer that came to fix it, put some type of liquid membrane on it.
Has that held up?
As of now, yes.
And according to you, he was supposed to put what there?
A flat roof system.
So what was it going to look like? Was it still going to look flat and white?
Well, there was different colors that it came in, and I was to pick out a color that was complementary to the roof that he installed.
And so did you ever pick out a color?
Yeah, I picked out a gray color, but the day that he put the roof on, he advised that it wasn't necessary.
Okay, let's talk about that. The day he's putting... Right, so he tells you it's not necessary for me to do that because what?
Because he said the flashing was in good shape.
Okay. So he doesn't replace that, but you are in fact paying him for a whole new roof, correct?
Yes.
And then what happens? How much later does that leak?
Well, I don't know exactly when it started leaking. I could tell you that it took a few months in October where it actually leaked into my ceiling in my office.
Okay.
So it could have been leaking from day one.
Correct.
I don't know, but it finally made its way through into my office.
Okay, so this is your office, and you start to see the telltale signs of water damage.
Yes.
Let me hear from you, Mr. Dorff.
First of all, Your Honor, when I initially showed up to do the estimate, I asked Mr. Tannenbaum if he had a problem with either one of those windows. At that time, he said he had a problem, but it had been resolved. I did not realize it was copper until I removed all the shingles from the roof. At that time, I realized it was copper, and I did not want to remove the siding or the window because the copper was already up behind the siding and probably under the sill plate, because there's a very, very small room between the sill and where that copper begins. So then
Why didn't you want to? Because you quoted him based on doing it. So why did you all of it? Did you lower the price when you told him it wasn't necessary, or no?
No, I don't believe so. But I did explain to him that it was all copper. Initially, I thought it was a galvanized metal roof. When I realized it was copper, and he didn't have a problem, I didn't believe I should remove the copper. I thought it would create more of a problem with the window.
Except for that, what happened is then it started leaking and it ruined his roof and his ceiling inside of his office, and he wants you to pay for it. And there's a lawsuit against you for $3,000, a statutory maximum in your state and small claims, because according to him, he paid you for a whole new roof. You quoted him to do that work, and then at the last minute said it's not necessary, and it turns out that you are wrong about whether it was necessary. Something was necessary, even at a minimum what the second guy did when you wouldn't do anything, which was to just put the membrane, and there's been no further leakage. But something was necessary, and when you didn't lower the price based on saving yourself all that work, it kind of, how is that not, hey, anything's on you if something bad happens?
The area of roof, and I wouldn't even call it the roof, I would call it a portion of the window, but that area is equivalent to about 15 square feet.
Sometimes it's just, sometimes 1 square foot could ruin your life. Right? If the leak is in I know it's not most of the roof. We don't have a problem with the rest of the roof. The issue is he feels this is on you because you quoted him, including doing work there, and at the last minute said, you know what, I'm not going to do work there. That's looking really good. So why is he out on a limb and out $3,000?
It wasn't necessary to be replaced. And I believe it's the windowsill that was leaking the whole time.
Well, apparently the second guy who he got to do the work doesn't believe that, because he ended up putting a membrane on top of the copper thing. Have you had any problems since then, Mr. Tannenbaum?
No.
All right. So really, that job is a $500 job. The real problem is the drywall that got ruined because that $500 job didn't get done when the $8,700 job was getting done. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff in this case. I rule in your favor in the amount of the $3,000.
So the plaintiff prevails. $3,000 is what he was suing for and what he is going to get. Mr. Dorff, what are you thinking right now? You're the defendant.
She's the judge. She made the decision. I don't agree with it, but it's I just don't agree with it.
Well, most defendants who lose don't agree with the judge either, so you're not alone. But anyway, you're on the hook for $3,000. I'm sorry about that. Mr. Tannenbaum, I guess you feel relieved, right? And vindicated, I guess.
I feel relieved. The window issue is something that I just heard today. That's nothing I've heard before, was never addressed. In fact, I'm kind of shocked that he would bring up the window as something that's causing the leak.
Yeah, well, anyway, bottom line, it's all fixed now and you're happy, right?
Yes.
That's important. All right, congratulations. You get $3,000 from the defendant. All right, Harvey, I think this has clarified the situation.
Doug, this is a really important issue, that if you hire a contractor to do something for you, like fix a roof, and he sees that there's a problem with the roof and then just ignores it, so what he did becomes valueless, that's negligence, as the judge said, and as a result, the plaintiff is entitled to damages to fix it properly.
What do you do during periods of stress? Do you call someone to vent? Do you think things through on your own? Do you do something physical?
I do all of that. I'll call someone to vent often, and that someone is usually you.
Right.
I will do something physical because I find that definitely relieves stress, like power walking. I power walk a lot. Plus, being outdoors clears my head.
Right.
Any problem I have, I think through ad nauseum, I should add,
Yeah, you
until
do.
I've analyzed every single obsessive,
Yes.
and I come up with some of my greatest thinking when I'm obsessing over a problem.
Right,
so
because you're a little OCD when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I do my best work that way, so I don't really care.
Right, if there's a big problem, like you're up early in the morning and you're just like sitting there at your desk trying to
I'll spend what other people, and I did that in college and law school too. I'll spend an inordinate amount of time working on something that someone else might, an embarrassingly long amount of time, and I don't mind.
Right.
Like other people would never spend that much time attacking a problem. I don't mind. I put thought into it.
I agree. I'm with you, though. I like the physical release of maybe going walking, running, biking, whatever it is that people like to do. But one other thing you're missing on, pinball. Pinball is great. Okay, so, get...
Pinball is just a source of stress for me,
It just
Stop that racket.